Leaders and healers from around the globe. This is Anthony Cheam on the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. Thank you for joining us, whether you're at home or at work or on the road, wherever you are in your world. We're here to serve you, to make your world better. This is where we make daily upgrades to enhance, upgrade your ability to be happy, to be more successful, to use your imagination in a way that you've never used it before, and to cultivate, to claim your power, cultivate your passion, and clarify your purpose. This is a show where we make difference. We make a daily transformation in your life, where we make. And I'm in this industry to impact the world, to make a difference in the world. And this is just the next step in my evolution as a human being, to make the world better, to serve the world at a grander scale, and to ultimately make not just my life better, but the people around me better and the world better. So thank you for joining us today. And this week's podcast is about vision. And joining us, of course, every week is Cameron. And thank you for sharing with us your technical savvy and your genius, because this certainly wouldn't happen unless he was helping me out, because I have no clue how to do most of this stuff. I could certainly learn it, but he was gracious enough to help me in this quest. And I know he's a part of this show in a massive way, and he's here to contribute big time too as well. So thank you, Cameron, for joining us.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. I definitely don't have my webcam today, so you guys can't see me, but as always, I'm really happy to just sit here and talk to you about these topics. And even just like tuning in once a week, it's making a difference in my life, just like hearing these new things every single week, every Thursday. It like changes the way I think, the way I see the world. And I think for everybody out there, the more you surround yourself with this kind of material, feed your mind. We all hear that, but it's true. And it'll get to the point where it changes the way you see the world, and eventually your decision-making changes, your priorities shift. It's beautiful. So anyways, today we were going to talk about vision, because we got a comment last week. And so I forget what the comment exactly was, but I think it said something along the lines of, how do you create a vision for your life? Like, if you have a purpose, like, how can you put that into this world, because the purpose is inside, right? And you have to have a vision for what you're going to do in this life to live that, right? So what would you have to say about that?
Well, let me start off with a quote that I just that came to mind when I was kind of preparing for this podcast. And I love talking about vision. And vision to me is, as it says in the great book, it says, "Without a vision, my people perish." And having a great vision beyond what you see with your eyes, seeing beyond what you see with your eyes and into your mind, using your imagination in a way you've never used it before. And William Blake said, "Anything that is now was first once imagined." So the chair you're sitting in right now, or the car you're driving, someone had to close their eyes and imagine that chair you're sitting in or that car you're driving before they actually had to create it. And here's the beautiful thing. I mean, Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and he was also a great mentor to Tony Robbins. He had this great quote, and I want to read this out, because as I was kind of preparing for this podcast, I was thinking about all the vision quotes that are out there, and this kind of stood out so grandly in my mind when I read it. I'm like, okay, great. It says, by Norman Vincent Peale, "Formulate and stamp indelibly on your mind a mental picture of yourself as succeeding. Hold this picture tenaciously. Never permit it to fade. Your mind will seek to develop the picture. Do not build obstacles in your imagination." And that is a very powerful, there's a lot in there. So simply said, but there's a lot in there that suggests whatever you put in your mind, whatever you focus on, you're going to move towards. So I even said in my TED Talk, if you imagine yourself in bed, or you're in bed and you're imagining yourself getting in a car accident, you're going to feel it as if it's actually happening. In fact, I do this in my coaching clinics and in my coaching sessions and some of my seminars too. I'll get people to invariably close their eyes. And if you're watching this live, close your eyes right now. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine yourself, Cameron, close your eyes too. Imagine yourself biting into a lemon. Now erase that from your mind for a second. Now I want you to imagine there's a purple flower in front of your mind as your eyes are closed. And I want you to bring that purple flower to your nose and smell it. And now I want you to erase that from your mind. Imagine you're standing in front of a tree and you're touching the tree. Touch the tree. Erase that from your mind. Now, I want you to imagine yourself holding an infant baby. And you're holding this infant baby. Now kiss it. Now erase that from your mind for a second. Here's the thing. When you were biting into that lemon, what happened? Your body responded as if you were biting into a real lemon. When you were touching the tree, were you touching the tree? Your brain was convinced it was, because your mind can't tell the difference between what you imagine inside your brain and what you actually experience in full and vivid detail in this moment. When you were holding the baby and you were kissing the baby, were you kissing the baby? Absolutely. What was the other example I gave? When you're holding the flower and you smelt the flower. Did you smell the flower? And the answer is, yeah, you smelt the flower, because your brain can't tell the difference between what you imagine in your mind in full and vivid detail and what's happening in real time. Why is this so important? Is because what you stamp inside your brain, what you tattoo and you focus on consistently inside your mind, you're going to manifest as a physical reality in your body. Your body's going to respond. Now, using the car example while you're in bed, imagine you're imagining yourself as a successful, let's say, millionaire, and you are driving the car that you always wanted to drive, or you see the $1 million in your bank account, or you see yourself giving $10,000 to your favorite charity, or you're wearing this $2,000 suit, or whatever it might be, whatever your representation of that $1 million might be. And I want you to imagine it in full and vivid detail. Now, here's the key about creating the vision. Here's what's most powerful. Most people just kind of think, okay, I'm going to imagine myself successful, or I want to imagine myself as being this person I want to be. But what they miss is the idea of fully focusing on it and then feeling in your body what John Assaraf calls emotionalizing the experience. Literally taking that vision and feeling it as if it's an actual event in your body. As Vincent Peale said, when you stamp indelibly in your mind a picture of yourself fully successful in your meditations, in your prayers, every day, reading your affirmations or closing your eyes, 3-4 times a day, and seeing yourself as 50 pounds lighter. I do this with a lot of my clients that want to lose weight. I'll ask them, I'll get them to stand up and I'll say, I want you to imagine yourself stepping on a scale and seeing the scale, the weight that you want to be. And I've done this so many times, and it's magical, because a lot of them go like this, finish, yeah, I see myself. But it's not real to them. It's not fully vivid. And I want you to feel it as if it's a real and present moment reality. And I want you to pull that future vision into this present moment now, as if you are already that person. Because what you're doing is you're imagining yourself already as that person. And if you're already that person, you're going to act in accordance with what the attitudes, the behaviors, the thought patterns that a person of that caliber would act, behave, and think like, and believe like. And you've got to literally sear it in your body, feel it in your body, so that it's literally an everyday moment. You are operating from a level of, I'm already that person. So when it comes to vision there, Cam, you got to imagine yourself already every single day in, day out. In my meditations in my morning and before I go to sleep, and oftentimes between clients, sometimes when I'm sitting there just appreciating the moment, I'll imagine myself closing my eyes and imagine myself, talking in front of an audience. I did this with my marathon. I did this with the multiple books I've written. I imagine myself holding the book. In my first book, I imagined the cover, me holding the book, and me holding it, fully holding it, and emotionalizing it. And me holding that book every day. I imagined it twice, 2-3 times a day. And I imagined myself handing it to somebody, and then them coming back to me a week later saying, wow, that book changed my life. And I emotionalized that, and me making an impact on people's lives through that book. And I did not put into my imagination anything other than finishing that book. That book is already a done deal. Now my mind, my spirit has to just go to work to actually go and creating that vision, that outcome. So you got to literally not just think about the end, but begin as if it's already the end. You're already the person that you want to be. You're already the person that you believe that you desire to be. And you've got to literally sear that into your nervous system. This is a fundamental strategy that a lot of peak performance, successful people teach, that you got to be able to use your imagination in a way you've never used it before, but not in a negative way, but in a positive, powerful way that excites you. I mean, even Tony Robbins said, I took one of his courses and he talked about how if you have a vision, it's exciting. If you plan it, it's possible. But then when you actually schedule it, it's real. So it's one thing to have the vision, then you plan it, and then it's possible, and then you actually schedule, then it becomes real. So we can get into the fundamentals about how to approach this and plan it. But without the purpose, without the vision, I can tell you right now, a perfect example of this, Cam, is the reality of, let's say, weight loss, the weight loss industry. How many people that are watching this, or how many diets are out there, Cam? Millions, right? If you go on Google and you put weight loss, 1 billion search engines come up. We do not live in a world where there's a scarcity of strategies to make your life happen, to be successful, to be happy, to be whatever it is you want to be. There's no scarcity of that. So I could give anyone the best diet plan, the best workout plan to lose weight, but it's not the strategy that's actually, bad, right? The strategies are there. You can just hire a trainer, do whatever. There's a million ways to do it, but it's the psychology, it's the state, it's the emotions you put behind the purpose, and not just planning the attack, but consistently committing to daily actions of amping up your physiology, amping up your mindset, amping up your emotions, so that you show up the identity of that successful person that you wish to be, so that you're acting and you're fully congruent with who you want to be in the moment now. You're not waiting to be that person. You are that person now. And I just went on a crazy tangent. I love it. But listen, I'm so passionate about this, because anything I've created in my life, I've used that very tool of sitting in the morning for 5 or 10 minutes, imagining, going to sleep before I sleep, 10 minutes. Wayne Dyer has something called the last 5 minutes. And he says the last 5 minutes of your sleep, focus on what it is you want, not the things you're afraid of. Because otherwise you're going to go to sleep, fearing all these things, and that enters your subconscious mind and marinates for the next 8 hours, and you wake up feeling fearful and worse. And it's because you put those thoughts, put those processes, put those images into your mind and dreamed about them all night. But if you put images of, I am that person, I am 50 pounds less, I see myself operating, feeling, speaking like that, walking like that, fully engaged with that. So it's so important that in order to have a great vision, that you think about it, you focus it on it every single day, so you take the time to actually do that.
Wow.
I know.
There you are. He's back. So, wow, that was incredible. I agree. And that was really inspiring, because it almost seems like most people are sort of, they're not headed anywhere, like different, that is. Like they're headed somewhere, but it's not very different from where they are right now. And what you're talking about is actually striving for something far more than you could ever expect out of yourself. And oh man, that's powerful. We actually got a good comment. Holly said, loving this topic and discussion. And she had a few other things to say. She's loving it. She's loving the show. Amazing.
Thank you, Holly. I love you, man.
And so, yeah, that's powerful. I just wanted to ask, for those who just feel like, I know we did, the first episode was talking about how, like, feeling stuck. For those people who feel like, I don't have time for this, like, there's just so much in my life. There's no way that I can sit down and not think about all the things in my life presently. How would you get these people out of, like, their, I guess you could call it a rut, but it's sort of just like tunnel vision perspective, where they don't see the bigger picture.
Okay, so one of the things, again, it comes down to this. Most people, I'd say 80-90%, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but most people are focusing on what they fear rather than what they want. If you're focusing on what you fear all the time, you're going to feel as if it's already real. If you're focusing on you losing your job, it's basically, because it's happening, you're focusing on it, you're feeling in your body, and it's real to you. There's a saying that says, a coward dies 1,000 times, a courageous man dies but once. What that basically means is basically the coward's thinking about all the bad things that are happening 1,000 times a day, and they're dying 1,000 times a day. Whereas the courageous man goes, well, you know what? I can't control what thoughts that come in, but I can control the thoughts I dwell on. Which means I'm going to say, all right, I'm here right now. It's not real. That's happening. It's not a real fear. Or it's not that a real fear. It's not really happening. It's not a present moment danger in this moment now. What do I want? And so one of the practices you can do for the people who are watching, the people who are listening to this, is simply take a piece of paper and think about writing with the end in mind. Imagine you're living the perfect life. And I want you to be like a kid. And I want you to write down everything that you've ever wanted in your life. And don't place limitations on this. Just go crazy with it. Write down, I want 10,000 square foot house. I want to give $100 million to charity. I want to travel the world. I want to have my own private Learjet. I want to, whatever it might be. Or I want to be fit. I want to finish that marathon, or I want to do an Ironman, whatever it might be. Just write down at least 50 things that you've always wanted to do. And then here's what I want you to do. Pick the top 3 things that you want to do that would probably take, I don't know, maybe a year or 2 years to accomplish. Now, pick one of the 3 things that you really want. So let's say it's weight loss. I mean, weight loss is a huge industry right now, health and fitness and getting fit and diet pills and all these things, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick that, and I want you to specifically write down what it is you want in terms of the weight loss. I want to lose 100 pounds. Great. Now, let me ask you a question there, Cam. When you say to yourself, I want to lose 100 pounds, does that really, really emotionalize and excite you when you say that?
No.
Or no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But if I said to you, I want to lose 100 pounds of body fat, gain 20 pounds of powerful muscle, live with total energy and vitality so I can perform daily on a consistent basis at my job, at my home, in my relationships, in my spiritual life, magnify my life so everyone around me is inspired.
Much better. Much
right?
better.
I mean, I just made that up right now. I'm just saying you don't have to be like me, but you got to make it exciting. You know, emotion comes from motion, and motion leads to emotion. So the idea is that you got to get emotional about this stuff. Get excited about
this. There's actually there's something I used to do that helped a lot.
Yeah.
So I used to journal like a lot of people do, and I would just sort of like, this is what I did today. I had a great time. Here's some memories, you know.
Yeah.
But once, I think my brother's the one who told me this.
Mm-hmm.
On the back of his journal, he would journal from the perspective of the life he truly wanted. And he would just make up a day, make up an afternoon of like his dream life and tell a story that never happened. But as you're writing, you can't help but like picture it in your mind and live it and like feel like, wow, this is my life. And yeah, it was powerful, man. I called it the midnight journal. So in the morning and just before bed, I would write about my day. And then the midnight journal was flip the page, and you know, if this was me 5 years from now and I had everything I wanted and I was still striving for more and more, what would I be talking about? Yeah. What would I do? Yeah. How would I journal? And so I would journal from that perspective. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't done that in a long time, but now that I'm hearing how powerful this is again, like I'm being reminded of this stuff. Yes. I think I might definitely start up that journal again, because like I said, like it's like a movie in your head when you're writing words on a piece of paper. Like you can't help it, but
it is powerful. And the great thing about writing, I'm a big believer in journaling. I mean, in fact, I wrote my 3 books. I just basically took the multiple journals I had and put it into a book. And that's all I did, writing ideas, quotes, kind of being creative in my poetry and my storytelling, whatever it might be, just contemplating life, contemplating success, reading books, getting quotes. If I hear a speaker talk and recite a quote, I'll write it down and go, wow, it was an amazing quote. And then I'll sit and not just read it, but contemplate it. But what you're saying, Cam, is so powerful. But the key is not just, as you said, you got away from it. The key is to be consistent with it, diligent, be vigilant in your daily desire. Make sure you start off your day with that vision, because it'll amp up your energy. It'll amp up your physiology. It'll amp up your excitement for life. Because the reality is, most people say this, I remember reading the book, The University of Success. I think it was by Og Mandino. And he talked about how, I think it was in The University of Success, or world's greatest salesman. And he talked about how, is it not better to aim for the moon and hit a bird than to aim for a bird and hit a rock? So aim high, aim high, make sure it's exciting. Make sure it's something that's like, wow, that really stirs your soul, that really breathes life into your body, that breathes life into every fiber of your being. Because the truth is, I mean, people's vision of today is basically, okay, I got to go to work and then I got to watch 2-3 hours of Netflix and or whatever it might be. And that's basically the limits of their vision, because they're just basically catatonically operating from a level of this is how far I'm going to go, and I just got to accept that. And there's that dull moment of, oh my gosh, if that's the life you want to live. I'm not saying, hey, to some people that may be their vision and they want to live that way. That's cool. But I'm a person that says, okay, I want to experience as much as I can. I want to feel it all. I want to experience it all. I want to see what all these gifts I've been given. I want to see how I can translate these gifts into a product or a system or a book or a song or whatever it might be. And I'm looking to learn as much as I can, earn as much as I can, and then return as much as I can. Because I love what Andrew Carnegie said there, Cami, and I love this. He said, the first half of my life, I want to make my fortune. The second half of my life, I want to give it away. And for me, it's not just the money part of it, but it's just giving away my talents, my love, my generosity, everything. I want to be completely empty at the end of my life. And so I think, with what you said about journaling and seeing yourself as that person is a great exercise, because in fact, for the people out there that are fearful, here's a great method that I learned, that if you're fearful about your future, write down the actual fear that you're having. So let's say I fear that I'm not going to have enough money when I retire, or I'm fear I'm going to lose my job. Write that fear down and read it 10 times. The act of reading and reciting that fear, the act of writing it down and reading it actually disconnects it from the brain and puts it onto the paper, which then leaves space for solutions to arrive. And then you go to work and writing the solutions down. What can I do to ensure that I make daily actions to make sure that I'm developing my financial portfolio. I'm making daily deposits in my financial portfolio, or whatever it is you're going to do, right? So these are strategies that I use. They're basic strategies. They're very, very, very powerful. And a lot of people say, "Oh, this is kind of I've done that before." And the reality is, I can tell you right now, it's probably not consistent enough that they've done it, and they haven't really emotionalized it to a point where it's in there, but they're feeling it in their body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. and I've never heard it like that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We got a comment here actually from Holly as well. Mm-hmm. She's loving the show. But she asked real quick, how do you two feel about mood boards, seeing your plan in front of you? So I'm guessing that has to do with like vision board sort of thing, where you have like a bunch of pictures up on a wall or something like that. For me personally, I had a projector in my room, so I just had a slideshow of pictures, and it would just slide. Yes. I think it's beautiful. And I could actually give an example of how powerful it is to like look at a picture and feel like that's a part of your reality.
Yes.
I drew a picture of, actually, no, sorry, this is different. On my slideshow on my computer, there was a picture of a fire pit, and like people were hanging around the fire. It was nighttime. It was on a beach, and a couple people had guitars, and people were just hanging out. It was a fun time. It was a beautiful scenery, and the reason I saved it is because like I would love to have that experience. That looks like a lot of fun. So I was like, cool. I want to live the kind of life where that is something that I live through normally. That's like an average thing for me. So I would look at it every day, and I didn't really pay any mind to that one specifically versus the other ones. 2 months later, maybe 3 tops, I end up on a beach. There's a fire. There's this dude with a beard who has a guitar, just like in the photo, I swear. And it clicked. It was almost as if it was almost like a deja vu thing, or like when you dream something and then it happens. It was like that, and it was so powerful, so unbelievable. And so like I think these mood boards or vision boards are very powerful. As long as when you look at the photo, you think to yourself, like that's something I want. Like that is like you gotta feel it. You gotta be so attracted to that vision for sure.
Yes, Holly, I can't tell you. There's so much power behind that. When I first started, in the self-help industry back in my early 20s, I met my first mentor, and that was one of the first things that they suggested. Take a bunch of pictures of things that you want, places you want to travel, and put it on a vision board, even just affirmations, and seeing it. And when you see it physically real, imagine, as you said, don't just look at it. Close your eyes and see yourself in that home, or in that campfire, or in that plane, or in Australia, or 100 pounds of weight loss, right? So, and again, the key is to emotional, not just thinking about it passively, kind of going, oh yeah. No, go literally and going, yes, that's me. Yes. And then owning that literally. I love the story. In fact, it reminds me of Wayne Dyer. He had a great story where it was so powerful that he helped this young guy in a mall, I think, I don't know, an airport or something. He recognized Wayne Dyer, and he went up to Wayne Dyer and he said, he had a massive stutter. And he asked Wayne Dyer, hey, can you help me with my stutter? And he had a really bad stutter. And Wayne Dyer said, yeah, sure. He said, okay, I want you to close your eyes and can you imagine yourself and hear yourself speaking without a stutter? Again, imagine yourself. And the guy said, no. And he goes, well, if you can't even imagine yourself speaking without a stutter, how can you actually do it in real reality? So he had him close his eyes again. Imagine it. I don't want you to respond until you actually feel it and you actually see yourself. And he can see his face. I guess Wayne Dyer's waiting. And the guy was, now can you hear yourself speaking without a stutter? And the guy, he went, yes. And he kind of shocked himself. And then he asked him this question: how did that feel? How did that feel in your body? He said, it felt great. And all of a sudden he goes, oh my gosh, this is amazing. He was speaking freely. He goes, every time your mind goes to, oh, I've been stuttering and stammering for the past 30 years, go right, put that in the garbage can. Make the shift to how it felt. Put your imagination on hearing yourself speaking freely and how it felt when you were speaking freely, and you will own that experience. And you do that enough, your subconscious mind will be directed toward that. And by the way, your subconscious mind is responsible for like 96 to 98% of all the actions that you take. It's basically beating your heart, digesting your food. So if you put into your imagination on a daily basis or look at your vision board, everything that you want for 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day, I promise you that vision, you emotionalize it, that vision will start to slowly be stamped and tattooed in your brain, in your subconscious. It will literally deepen into your subconscious mind, live in your body. And before you know it, you're doing things, your brain is focusing on things that relate to that vision. And I remember hearing a long time ago, Tony Robbins in one of his audios was talking about the reticular activating system of your brain. And it says when you're focusing on something you really, really, really want, it starts to notice everything that relates to that thing that you really want. So as an example, for you ladies out there, have you ever bought, let's say, a red purse? And let's say you bought a red purse and you love this red purse and whatever it might be. And all of a sudden you start to see red purses everywhere. Well, the red purses were always there, but because you're focusing on it, your reticular activating system are focusing on the red purse, you're seeing red purses everywhere, or a red car, or whatever it might be. So if you're focusing on something you really, really want and it's emotional, if you're getting emotional about it, as you said there, Cam, your brain's going to start searching for things like a radar, for things that relate to that vision, and you're going to start moving in that direction. That doesn't mean that you don't take action. That doesn't mean you don't discipline yourself, of course, but you should discipline yourself first by using your imagination in a very powerful way, daily basis, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out.
I think another thing to mention real quick, we should probably bring the show to an end eventually, but
Sure.
One quick thing to mention would be, as you're doing this, it's great, you're manifesting, you're putting yourself in that place where you're making the right decisions, you're seeing the right things, opportunities, all these things. Anthony put it way better than I can. But I think we need to focus and make sure that while we're doing it, it's not a task. It's not something that we don't want to do. It's not something that we dread doing, I gotta go do that vision thing again. Damn. And it's like, it'll never work, and it'll actually, I think, just kind of ruin you in that sense. You'll never want to come back and do it again.
Yeah. Yes.
Make sure it's not a chore. Make sure you have fun doing it, because otherwise, like, why are you doing it, right? And that same goes for like meditation and stuff, and all these things, exercise. Like, it should never be a task. And the moment it's a task is the moment that, like, it's kind of hard to stay consistent. Like how I said, like, I stopped doing the journaling thing. It's probably just because eventually it was a task, right? And I got to set the right boundaries. Like, maybe I can't do it every night. Maybe it's every other night, or at least a few times a week if I can, if I have the right moment to do so. But do it when it feels right, for sure. Because my music teacher told me, he's like, practicing every day won't always be fun. But there's those moments where you just go hard for like 2 hours. So maybe you just need to practice a few times a week for longer, rather than every day for 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
And so it's different for everybody, because some people like that task. Some people like that discipline. They like schedule, routine. They love that. Personally, I've tried routines many times in my life. And it's got to be flexible. Just for it to work
Yes.
with me, it's got to be flexible, but everybody's different. So I guess it's a constant practice of like finding your balance with that.
Oh, and you know what? To add to that, Cam, I think you make an awesome point, because I think people set themselves up to fail, where what you're saying is set yourself up to win and give yourself the sort of flexibility, pliability to make those mistakes, that just because you didn't follow through once, or you didn't do your meditation, or let's say for a lot of people that smoke out there, they didn't smoke for 30 days and all of a sudden they get stressed out, and on the 31st day, they go from no smoking to a pack a day again. You didn't smoke for 30 days. Right? Give yourself that credit. Now go again. Don't turn disappointment into complete disaster. Go right back at it again. And that's for a lot of people that are on diets. I don't know anyone that's eating healthy 100% of the time. I often say to people, what's the most important meal of the day? And people go, well, breakfast. I say, wrong. The most important meal of the day is the one you're eating right now. Right now. That's the most important meal. Like, so if you just binged on 5,000 calories at Mandarin, okay, fine, you did it. Get over it. And then at nighttime, maybe juice some vegetables, and then down and be like, yes, I'm back on the game. Don't screw up your whole day or your whole week. I know a ton of people that do this. I used to do this too. If I didn't eat perfectly, then I would completely set myself up for failure. So I think you make a tremendous point. Live the middle path, as we talked about last week. But it honestly, to kind of cap this podcast off, but I want to say that make that daily commitment, or as much as you can, to have daily time with yourself, to figure out what's most important to you. And if I were to add something to your daily vision board or your vision, meditation, I want you to imagine yourself envisioning the life that you want, specifically health related, economic related, spiritual related, relationship related. And I want you to imagine yourself seeing yourself as that person, doing the things, speaking that way, talking that way, walking that way. Imagine yourself doing, and I want you to find yourself looking at that picture and then saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And imagine yourself giving gratitude for that's already here now. And then go on this sort of parade, go on this sort of journey of being grateful for everything. I mean, I have 10, 15 minutes a day where I just give gratitude for everything in my life. And I get that emotional charge from being grateful for everything in my life that many of us miss. And so in your vision, sit down, calm yourself down, breathe. Breathing techniques are great. And then go to work on envisioning your life daily, twice a day, whatever it might be, and then giving thanks for that very daily vision, and then go to work on a daily gratitude journey. And I promise you're going to start to see some pretty fundamental changes, and your life will start to turn out a little bit better day by day.
Awesome. Great show. Unbelievably inspiring, honestly.
Awesome, man.
And like, it's so weird too, because I'll tune in, like I'm like the man behind this stuff, right? Making it all happen. But still, it's like, I feel like I'm getting the most out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's awesome. Man. It's awesome. So,
and you know what? I can tell you right now, Cam, the person that's listening to this most, you want to be the truth. And I do seminars. I'll say the person that's actually listening to this the most is me. You know why? Because we oftentimes teach that which we need to learn the most. So and that's why I like self-talk so much, because I want to be able to reinforce these ideas and go, okay, maybe I should learn that and master that too. So it's good to actually have the things we talk about the most is probably the things we need to learn the most.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when somebody tries to control somebody else, it's usually the exact area that they are out of control in. So it's like, it's that sort of thing. Wow, that's amazing. So great talk about vision. Honestly, I wouldn't even, I would tell people to like listen to this multiple times if they want to, because that's wild. Like, that was great. So to sort of recap, can you recap it in like 60 seconds?
Wow, that's tough.
Just a quick few steps.
Okay, so know what you want. Clarify what it is you want. Write it down. As I said, 50 things that you really want, and be like a child. Don't put limitations on it. Then pick 3 of those things, and then imagine one of those things is a real and present moment reality in your life. And I want you to make it vivid, and I want you to imagine, and I want you to feel it in your body if it's a real and present moment reality. And I want you to do that daily. And then I want you to give thanks for that reality as if it's a present moment reality. I want to give thanks for your life, your arms, your fingers, your eyes, everything. Go into an imaginative gratitude explosion where you're giving thanks for everything. And from that vision, I can tell you right now, I mean, for me, myself, guys, I listen to probably 2-3 hours of audios, something positive every single day. That also feeds my vision and reinforces who I am and what's possible in my life. So listen, I love you guys. I hope you tune in weekly. I'm just here to serve. I'm a love bug, and I know Cam is too. We're on this journey together. And again, I'd like to end my podcast by saying, to your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion.